If your team got guaranteed money, tell them call me.
Whoop. Make me say, my. I done been around the world.
Yeah, I was made for this.
Player Performance with J.A. Cavalier.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the College Football Conference Previews Player Performance Edition on the J.A. Cavalier channel. I am Guns Picks, and I'm joined, as always, with Coach Rick. What's going on, my friend? How you doing on this beautiful, almost college Saturday coming up? I can't wait.
Yes, sir. It's like Christmas here in Michigan. It's like the 12 days of Christmas. We're counting them down. Just a few days away from, week 0 and a couple games, a really good one featuring two of the best teams in the Big 12 that we're going to talk about here in a moment.
Yeah, this is a very interesting conference. Of course, we'll be talking about the champion in Arizona State, some changes over with that, and we'll be going up and down the board, alphabetical order. We'll give you some plays, give you some win totals. And we're going to waste no time. We're just going to get into it now. We're going to start with the first one on the board. We're going to go with the Arizona Wildcats here. And you got Brent Brennan in year 2 coming into this situation. Wasn't a great year for Arizona. A lot of turnover. That was kind of expected. Jedd Fisch jumping ship to go to Washington. But Noah Fifita is back. The legend, the guy that got them to basically get Jedd Fisch a job out in Washington, quite frankly. But top wide receiver and running back going to be gone. There is some turnover, but I'll pass it to you, Coach. What do you think about this Arizona Wildcat team this year?
Well, I agree that Brent Brennan is a very good football coach. The problem is he won't have the horses again this year. You mentioned Noah Fifita is an outstanding quarterback. He's a small guy, but outstanding, very good. I mean, if the kid was 6'3", he's probably an NFL prospect, but he, unfortunately, he's about 5'10". He'll lose his receiver, Teteroa McMillan, who was a high school teammate too. He's in the NFL. They lose their running back. Just 3 starters coming back on offense. Yeah, I mean, they won 4 games last year. I don't know how they get to that this year. Defensively, I think they have 5 starters back, but they were awful defensively. Are they going to be able to go to the portal and fill a bunch of those spots? Sure, they tried. I don't think that they get there. This is a team that should be better offensively, just because they brought in Seth Doege, a offensive coordinator. He used to be a head coach, big air raid guy, Mike Leach disciple. So I think Fifita will kind of thrive in that offense. But until they do something defensively, I don't see them getting to their win total, which is set at 5.5. And then to throw more, on the fire, they have to go to Iowa State and to Arizona State. They're playing Kansas State to start the Big 12 season. I don't see how they get to 6 wins.
Well, call me a gambler. I'm going to give the counterpoint in this one because I do think this team is capable of a bowl team. And I think with Brent Brennan, he's got to be doing better than 4 wins. And the situation for Arizona, to me, was more on the sheer fact that Jedd Fisch had to jump ship kind of late, and Brent Brennan was kind of thrown into the situation and kind of had to work with what he had, even though he had McMillan and Noah Fifita. It just wasn't enough for the whole entire team to kind of gel into itself and actually kind of correlate to what Brent Brennan was bringing to the table. But this is year 2. It's a different scenario. The running back core, I think, is going to get a little bit better. They bring in Texas State, Ishmael Mahdeed, and he who was the first team all Sun Belt. If you know anything about the Guns, I am the Sun Belt. It is the Gun Belt, and I think that's going to be a little bit of change over there. And their second best running back does come back as well. But I think with that two running back tandem should be able to work. The wide receiver core has got some big holes to fill, replacing McMillan. A lot of transfers on that O-line to fill in the void, but I think it's going to be an improved unit. That offensive line wasn't that great last year. And then on the defensive side, they do bring back 9 starters and a bunch of transfers to add to the depth, especially with the D-line and the linebacker core, which is kind of a problem for them last year. Arizona's defense gave up 31.8 points per game last year from 21.1 the year prior. So there was a huge variance from year to year. And it was kind of expected, knowing that, when the head coach leaves, kind of everybody else jumps ship. The schedule is going to be the toughest part of this one. like you said, Coach, that's going to be what I mean. They have to face Baylor, Arizona State, Iowa State, and Kansas State. That's going to be tough. But no Texas Tech and no Utah. We'll talk about those two teams too. Very tough division overall. I think it's very 50-50 as far as the strength of schedule goes. But I think they're just in a better spot than last year. And if they won 4 games and the books are putting it at 5.5, I do think that they are bowl eligible. They have that ability, especially I think Fafita will want to show out probably in his last year, trying to get himself into this resume role, to try to get into the big dance of the NFL. Better O-line, better defense. That's enough for me to take the over on their wins. We'll see what happens. We have differing opinions on this one, but we keep it rolling along, and we go to the next team on the board, and this is the team that won the Big 12 last year and represented the Big 12 in the college football playoff. The Arizona State Sun Devils. Big surprise how good this team was. They played a lot of close games, a lot of nail biters, but they were a very exciting team. Of course, getting their quarterback back, but they lose their massive offensive weapon. He goes and jumps ship to the NFL. I think he's playing for the Giants now. But I'll pass it to you, Coach. What do you think about this Arizona State team this year?
Outstanding. I don't know if anyone remembers, but preseason last year, heading into the Big 12 schedule, I think most publications actually picked Arizona State to finish last in the Big 12.
That's right.
And then they end up, playing for and eventually winning the conference championship. Also of note in this conference, as you mentioned, just a ton of really solid teams. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure each of the last 5 years there's been a different Big 12 conference champion. So
right.
There's teams here that could just jump up and all of a sudden they're winning games left and right, like Arizona State did last year, and you're turning around looking holy shit, what happened? But the Arizona State should contend for another conference title. Sam Leavitt, just outstanding as a QB. I believe he's the preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. 7 other starters back with him, including Jordan Tyson, wide receiver, over 1,100 yards receiving. Outstanding. You mentioned the running back. Cam Skatebo is playing for the Giants right now. That dude was a stud, man. Loved watching him run. But their running back room could be even better than it was last year. So they're going to get there's a couple. They returned the guy that was the runner-up in rushing yards last year, but they'll bring in 2 transfers. The guy I like more than any other is a guy named Kanye Udo.
Yep.
If you don't know him, Kanye Udo played at Army, which, if you know anything about service academies, you can actually get out of the commitment if you leave before your 3rd year starts, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so he transfers from Army to Arizona State, 5'11", 220, stud, fast, big, strong. And I think he's going to make some noise for Arizona State. Defensively, they bring back 9 starters. They led the conference in run defense. When you shut people down on the run, like you're going to do well, because you're going to force teams to do what you want. Then you can kind of pin your ears back and get after them. They don't play Kansas State this year, and they get Texas Tech at home. This is going to be a really good football team. Once again, I don't see why they're not playing for another conference title. And I believe their win total set at 8.5. It's a little steep. If you look at their schedule early on, Northern Arizona, Mississippi State, Texas State, they should be 3-0 as they head into the league schedule. I think that line's sharp. They could win 8. They could win 9. I think the under's juiced a little bit, but
yep.
Yeah, I don't, pick one there.
Yeah, you said most of it. This team is going to be competing. And you brought up that stat about, I think it's the last 5. I just looked it up right there. Oklahoma went on a tear from like 2015 to 2020. And then it was Oklahoma, and then it was a different guy every single year after that. So it's been a consistent run. And with Arizona State, Kyle Dillingham, I think he's done a good job keeping guys in the system. And you get Jordan Tyson back. And remember, Jordan Tyson was a big key weapon for them. Cam Skatebo as well. But he was their passing weapon. He got hurt like the last game of the year. He couldn't play in the college football playoff. I don't think he played in the Big 12 championship, but he's going to be back. 4 starters on that offensive line. I think the offense is going to be tough. You brought up Uda. Udo coming over from Army. He ran for 1,000 yards last season, so I think he should. Is he going to pick up that lightning in a bottle that Cam brought? Probably not, but he's still going to be a resourceful back for him. And with that offensive line, I think they're going to be fine on the offensive side. And the defense, a lot of returning starters. I think the schedule is going to be what's going to be a little bit of a detriment to them because, one, you have a lot of teams that are got a target on. They got a target on their back for the first time. Last year, they kind of snuck in there. Everybody kind of let them, didn't really see them coming. But now, all of a sudden, you have a target on your back and teams are going to be ready for you. You have to go to Baylor. You have to go to Utah. You have to go to Iowa State. Non-conference schedule is soft. And they also face Arizona, Mississippi State. Mississippi State kind of stinks. Texas State's going to want their pound of flesh, too. That was a very close game as well. Are they going to get there? We'll see. 11-win season last year, 8.5 total this year. I could see 3 or 4 losses from this team. I think the line is sharp and is kind of playing that sharp. It's not heavily juiced to one side or the other. It's kind of playing coin tossy, a little bit of juice to the under. But I think it's just going to be a little bit of a tougher trek for them this year, knowing that Texas Tech's going to want their pound of flesh. Iowa State's going to want their pound of flesh, and Iowa State gets them at home. They're going to be ready for them. Couple key spots here on the schedule that are going to decide the win total on this one. Very tough, very sharp. But this team is going to compete in the top 3 or 4. We'll see what happens with that one. This is a team that I love, and I just fall in love with this team every single freaking year. The Baylor Bears, Dave Aranda coming in. And let me just throw it looks like a John Deere hat every time I put this on.
Nice.
Got this Baylor Bears hat rolling. A lot of good guys coming back on this team, and they're going to be raring to go. I was shocked when I saw their win total. I don't want to give too much away on this breakdown. I'm going to start with you, Coach. What do you think of the Baylor Bears?
Yeah, you mentioned Baylor. God, what's not to love about Baylor? This is a league with a lot of really, really good coaches. Dave Aranda is one of them. He's a defensive-minded guy, which – if you looked at how they played defensively last year, you'd be thinking, I don't think he's that defensive-minded. But, he'll fix that because at one point he was the highest-paid D coordinator in the country. But Baylor, offensively, these guys are outstanding. And I don't know if people are aware of Sawyer Robertson or not, but he was top 15 in the country in passing efficiency. He didn't even start the season last year. I think it was game 3 before he took over, and tremendous, over 3,000 yards passing. Running back, Bryson Washington, that was the best season ever for a Baylor freshman running back, ran for over 1,000 yards. Josh Cameron back at wide receiver, 5 starters on defense, and Aranda, which he took over calling defense last year, he's going to do it again this year, and I'd put my money on him. That he's going to turn that thing around. They had too many games where, they're giving up 31, 35, 40 to 41 or 44 in the bowl game. That's not Dave Aranda defense. I think they fixed that. Win total, yeah, I got 7.5. If you look at their schedule, I think they miss Arizona State. No, they miss Iowa State, and they don't play Texas Tech. I think the schedule's favorable. And the big one, which we talked about on our SEC preview, the big one is Auburn because it's a season opener. They get Auburn at home. And that thing, when I was a head coach, that was my thing. You got to win game 1. Game 1 will set the tone because you're going into game 2 with a win and things start to roll from there. So they get that game 1 win. Then they're going to SMU kind of fat and happy and ready to roll through the Big 12 schedule. So I think the 7.5, I think that line's kind of sharp because this is a team that is going to a bowl game, but they're going to be right around 7-8 wins in the regular season. It's a great football team. Like I said, 1, a lot of great coaches in this league. 2, a lot of great quarterbacks too. This might be top to bottom the best quarterback group in the nation.
Yeah, I was just checking to see how many road games they had on this one. 1, 2, they got 4?
At Oklahoma State. They're at TCU, at Cincy, and at Arizona.
Yep. So I think their schedule is a lot easier than it was last year
Yeah,
because they get a lot more home games. Yeah, you said most of this stuff. Sawyer Robertson's coming back. Bryson Washington's coming back. 1,000-yard rusher in 2024. They get their top wide receiver back as well, so the offense should be fine. O-line gets 4 starters back, a unit that only allowed 17 sacks last year. I mean, this is the offense is just going to be looking tough. And as long as you have Dave Aranda kind of running the defense, it's a little bit more trustworthy. 8 starters back on the defense, a slew of transfers to help with the strength in the front 7 to really get them beefed up. I mean, they're going to have to get beefed up in the front to just kind of keep scores low and maybe even give their secondary a break. You remember, like, some just from an eyeball test, you watch some of those games with Baylor, and I had the Baylor over win total last year. I was so frustrated with some of the coverages, not being able to get to the quarterback pressures, not letting, that was a huge problem, is maybe just giving the quarterback too much time in a conference that had a lot of good quarterbacks last year. I think Dave Aranda is aware of that, and that's why he went to the transfer portal to kind of get some depth on that defense, especially up front. But 8-win season last year. They finished the year on a 6-game win streak, and I think that's going to be a little bit of a carryover. I thought 7.5 was just too low. So much talent's coming back from this team. This is more predicated on their tough non-conference schedule. They're going to have to come out week 1, like you said, Coach. Got to go play Auburn. That's going to be a very tough matchup with 2 up-and-coming teams, I think. Very good matchup in week 1, but I think the over wins in Baylor has some validity. And, I mean, honestly, this team should be contending for a Big 12 championship, in my opinion. We'll see how it goes there for the Baylor Bears. Let's go into Mormon country. Let's go into BYU territory. Wow.
Yeah.
Kalani Sitake really having to do a job there. There's certain things that you can get in trouble for and get kicked off a team for that, well, you wouldn't get kicked off of any other college in the country. But Jake Retzlaff had to deal with that issue and had to transfer out. Now he's the quarterback for Tulane. So there's a little bit of it's tough to get everything situated for this BYU team. I'll start with you, Coach. What do you think about this team?
Yeah, so, Retzlaff, of course, did what every young man does, and unfortunately you can't do that at BYU, but
it's a kid show. We got to keep this PG.
It is, yeah. You know what, though? The thing is that they just don't have a lot of veterans returning. You're going to have 4 starters on defense, just 3 on offense, and you don't have a quarterback that's coming back. So, what do you do? Well, they have a couple guys in the system that have been there. Hillstead, I believe, was the kid's name. But the kid I think is going to start is a kid named Bear Backmeyer, and I don't know if anybody knows the Backmeyer name, but Hank Backmeyer is his brother. Started at Boise, went to Louisiana Tech and Wake Forest. I don't know, traveled around. So Bear is the one brother, and then the other one's Tiger. But these guys came out of California. I'm sure their parents were, a little off. But anyway, I digress. But Bear, actually a stud. I mean, I remember evaluating him coming out of high school. Like he's good. I think he'll be the guy. The problem is he just doesn't have a lot of experience. You're not going to have a lot of experience up front. However, BYU plays a different style of offense than everybody else in the conference. Everybody else likes to, kind of whip it around. And BYU is more of a pro-style spread, like to run the football. They'll get under the center every now and then. So they could be okay. I don't think they'll sneak up on anybody. 11-2 last year. I mean, they were just crushing people, and really it's their defense that did it. I think they can still be effective defensively, even though they got to replace a bunch of dudes. They don't bring in the average, stud from the transfer portal, just because, it is a Mormon school, and you've got to, it's a certain kind of dude that you got to bring in there. So they don't get the kind of athletes that we talk about with other schools in the transfer portal. That said, Kalani Sitake is a pretty damn good coach, and defensively they're always fairly good. 6.5 win total. I scratch my head. It's 11-win team from last year, but they don't have the horses that they had last year. So I think I'd pass on the win total. just because I will play BYU this year. I don't know if anybody knows this, but they're one of the best bets when they're playing at home at night. They cover the spread a ridiculous amount of time. It's well over 70% over the last, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 seasons. Night game at BYU, they will cover the spread over 70% of the time. So we'll look to see some of those opportunities throughout the season. But the win totals is a pass for me.
Yeah, I remember I had a monster mega max bet on BYU against Kansas State last year in one of the wildest games. It was a night game. It was BYU, and BYU absolutely thumped them. Tons of turnovers, a crazy first half. But, this is a new season here with Sataki. But, yeah, you said most of it. Jake, they lose their quarterback. They bring in Bear Bachmeier. He was announced the starter like either today or yesterday as we're recording the show. BYU does bring back their top wide receiver, top running back from last year, but a very inexperienced offensive line, which is a little bit of concern for me. Not a group that's kind of gelled together. 7 starters lost on the defensive side from last year. They get back their top tackler, but this group should have a setback. Last year's squad only allowed 19 points per game, but coaching kind of next man up mentality. If you're recruited well, they should be able to keep that plateau. But I think there's going to be a little bit. They're not going to be. In my opinion, I don't think they're going to be the team that's going to hold opponents to 19 points per game, as we see all these other teams in their conference getting better, while they're kind of taking a step back. 10-win season last year, 4 close wins, 2 close losses. So they were playing within, in some of these games, it was very close within a possession type of situations, which one thing led to another. It could go a different way, and I think that's why their win total is low. Maybe on the fact that you lose your quarterback, your veteran quarterback, that kind of hurts. You're going with a younger guy, and the fact that they played a lot of close games. Probably the books are trying to protect themselves. I actually saw this thing dance around because I had 7.5 written down when I first wrote this up, and now it's 6.5, and it's been going up and down. So I don't know what to do with this team. I haven't made any official plays on it, but I do lean towards the under on this one, just on the fact that there are just teams that are going to be coming up on this BYU team. And they got to play Texas Tech on the road. They got to play Iowa State on the road. They do have a favorable schedule. No Baylor, no Kansas State, SMU, or Arizona State, which is kind of remarkable. You don't have to play those teams. But we'll see what happens with the BYU Cougars. If Sataki can get another 9-10 win season, my God, make him the Big 12 Coach of the Year. Cincinnati is on the board next. Talk about lackluster. To talk about the team, but we got to talk about every single team on the board. Scott Satterfield coming back, 15 returning starters, if that matters, 7 on offense, 8 on defense. I'll start with you, Coach. I have a slight lean on this one, just on the win total itself. Maybe I'm going to get cute, but I'll start with you.
It's just one of those teams where you're like, do you really have to? Are they really in the Big 12 still? But they are. A couple of years ago, we're talking about Cincinnati's on the verge of. This is a damn good football team, but you see what happens when coaches leave and there's turnover, etc. You mentioned the starters coming back. The quarterback's back, Brendan Sorsby. They're going to have some decent receivers. They brought in a transfer. Here's a nice Coach Rick trivia. They'll bring in a transfer from Lindenwood, which is an FCS school. And does anybody even know where it is? I'll come back to that in a second. But Jeff Caldwell is a 6'5" receiver who should be a pretty good target for Brendan Sorsby. They lost, I think they lost both corners to the transfer portal. And they've had some good ones, if you remember. A couple of them actually came from Detroit Rock City. They also lost their 3 top safeties. They're actually playing in the NFL right now. So defensively, it's going to be tough. This is a league where everybody says no one plays defense, but they all do. At least they all try. And the teams that are better defensively are typically the teams that are playing for the conference title. Cincinnati's not one of those teams. Lindenwood is in Missouri, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that out there, Coach Rick trivia. But since he's a team, I just don't. Their win totals actually surprised me. I saw it at 6.5. I'm like, how do you get to 7 wins? I mean, their first game of the season is against Nebraska, and I know it's not Nebraska from 1996, but they're going to play Nebraska to open up, and you're going to expect them to win 7 games. I mean, they might not be Bowling Green. Eddie George is taking over that program. It's right down the road from me, man. They got some great players there, but I don't see them getting to 7 wins. No way.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I do like some of the statistical numbers that I saw from this team, which kind of like a little bit misleading as far as their win total. They only won 5 games last year, but they were plus 26 net yard average in conference play, 3-6 in the conference. But yeah, I mean, you get Sorsby back. The running back, Tawny Walker, was the guy that I liked there for Wisconsin. Very good running back for them. He comes over from Wisconsin. Wide receiver core, they got a lot of speed on this one. They get all their Big 12. They're all Big 12 tight end back as well. So the offensive passing weapons, you're going to have a lot of speed, and you're going to have a good tight end there. Kind of help with that offense along with the running game. So maybe some positives there for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Defense, they do lose a lot in the secondary. 3 out of their 4 tacklers in 2024 are back, though. So the defensive line should be improved. Their linebackers are their strength. Their secondary is a lot of question marks, a lot of new transfers coming in on that one because, like you said, Coach, a lot of the guys went to the NFL. Favorable schedule, though, in some cases. Maybe not early on. Playing Nebraska in week 1 is not bad. Only 4 true road games, though, for this team. Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Utah, and TCU. They don't draw SMU, Kansas State, Arizona State this year. They do get Baylor and Iowa State, but they get them at home. So situationally, kind of plays in their favor a little bit. That's probably why this total is at 6.5. And I think I'm seeing minus 150 plus juice on the under. Nothing I want to be playing on this one. Team won 5 games. And to me, I think they're playing for bowl eligibility, and it may come down to the last game of the year for them. That's kind of where I see this team ending up. Improvements on the offense. I think their front 7 is very good. Their secondary is going to be a massive problem, I think. And that's the thing that I worry about, giving up a lot of big pass plays and touchdowns and scores, and then you lose the game. All right, let's talk about Deion country. Let's talk about the Colorado Buffaloes. Talk about changeover. This is going to be the make or break for Deion Sanders. I'm surprised he didn't just retire after Shador and Travis Hunter left. I don't know if the excitement's still there. Got some good recruits. I don't know anything about the team. I'm in very down on Colorado Buffaloes. Maybe I have a little bit of bias going into this breakdown. I'll start with you, Coach. What do you think of Colorado?
The best thing they did all offseason was hire Marshall Faulk. He'll be the running back coach. So, whoever's going to start at running back, like they're going to, they got a good one. But it's year 1 AS, right? After Shador or after Shiloh. Don't forget his brother, right? Mm-hmm. Travis Hunter's gone. So, people are going to look and be like, oh, well, look at what they lost, blah, blah, blah. Does primetime even care anymore? Dude, this is an elite guy, an elite athlete who, he's not going to pack it in, right? So he did go to the portal like he has in the past. He always does. He knows how to play the game. And the game is go get good dudes in the portal. So he went out, he gets Caden Salter at QB. If you don't know him, 3-year starter at Liberty. Yep. Dual threat, like real good dual threat guy, over 8,000 yards passing. So he's got him. And then waiting in the wings, he gets 5-star Julian Lewis, who he'll be a freshman, but don't be surprised if you see him play a little bit as well to get him some experience. But still, there's going to be a little bit of a drop-off offensively. Up front, they don't return any starters, and that's always a key for me. No matter where you're at, what level, whoever you're coaching, NFL, Pee Wee, whatever, if you don't have dudes up front on both sides of the ball, like you're not going to do well, regardless of how good your skill positions are. So it's the same thing defensively. They don't return a lot of guys up front on their defense. However, the defense really was what kept them alive last year. The Colorado defense is probably one of, if not the most underrated defense in the country. They'll have a drop off this year. I don't expect them to challenge for a league championship like they did last year. Their win total set at 5.5. I think they could surprise some people and actually get to that, because I think they'll fight for bowl eligibility towards the end of the season. And Prime's going to want to get that sixth win, to get some of that bowl money and get those 15 extra practices before he goes and raids the transfer portal again. The schedule is going to be tough because they get Arizona State. Their last two games are Arizona State and Kansas State, two teams that might play for the conference title. And they have to go to Kansas State, and they'd also play Iowa State, but they get them at home. So they've got a tough schedule. Non-conference, not so much, but again, that line's pretty sharp. But I think they get over it just because they want the bowl game.
Yeah, right now it's a little bit of juice on the 5.5 that I'm seeing on there, and I think it's I have it in my notes right at the end. I think it's a 5 or 6 win team playing for bowl eligibility. Granted, this team won 9 games last year, losing their bowl game to their Big 12 rival in BYU. Kind of like really showed. I don't really think they even though all the starters played in that game, I don't think they wanted to play in that game. But you said Caden Salters coming over. He was the Conference USA Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. Very solid quarterback. He's a dual threat weapon, and I think this offense is going to be changed. Now, if you knew anything about Shedeur Sanders, very pass oriented. They didn't like to run the ball a lot. They just like to grip it, rip it, and throw the ball down the field to 4 or 5 receivers. All those receivers are gone now. So they're going to have to rely a little bit on the run game. They get a very solid FCS running back transfer from Incarnate Word, but it's really unclear who the running back's going to be. I just think this offense is going to be a little bit more balanced than what we're used to, and I think it needs to be, knowing that this offensive line has gotten better. All seniors that are going to be on this line, except for one solid left tackle sophomore. He was a freshman last year. He started all 13 games. He's an absolute – I think he's going to be a stud in the NFL someday. I think he's very solid. So, I think the offensive line has gotten better. And whoever the quarterback is, whether it's Juju or if it's going to be Salter back there, I think they're going to be in good hands as far as the protection is concerned. But you said it about the defense. Very underrated. Even though they lost Travis Hunter, they do lose a lot of stars. They bring in a lot of transfers with experience. So it's very much rebuilt. Remember, this team led the Big 12 in sacks last year. So this defense, like you said, Coach, kept them in a lot of these games when there was mistakes that were getting made on the offensive side of the ball. But the schedule, keep going back to the schedule, very tough on this one. Top 20 toughest schedule on this one. They got to play Georgia Tech right out of the gate. That's going to be a very tough game. Road games are going to be Houston, TCU, Utah, West Virginia. West Virginia's not going to be tough, but whatever. Kansas State. And you said it. They get Kansas State at the end of the year, and they get Arizona State at the end of the year, right? I think that's right. Iowa State, Kansas State. Yeah. So 9-3 last year. I think when they show the drop off of that one, there's a reason, and the reason is obvious. You lose some very high premier top 10 draft picks, and you got a lot of turnover as far as all the transfers that come in and out of there. That's how Dion operates. He keeps a couple of 5 stars here and there, but then he rebuilds it with more experience. So I think this is a bowl eligible team, but I think it's going to be a downgrade from what happened last year, and it is very much justified. All right, next game, we got Willie Fritz country going with the Houston Cougars. Man, not a great year for him on year one, but that's kind of Willie Fritz's MO. It takes him, anywhere between 2 to 4 years to really get the team up. If you've seen his history, he comes in year 2. New quarterback's going to be stepping in on this one. A couple of other key elements that are going to be stepping in that are going to kind of change the dynamic of this team. What I'm going to ask you, Coach, do you think this team is going to go upward, go downward from last season?
I think Houston will trend up for the next few years while Willie Fritz builds this thing. You mentioned him, and again, I love coaches and I love guys I like guys like Willie Fritz. So they go to a Division II program and they build it, and then he gets to Sam Houston State, which was FCS at the time, and they play for 2 national championships. And then he goes to Georgia Southern and goes 17-7 in 2 years. Takes Tulane, right? The football juggernaut known as Tulane. In his last 2 seasons, they go 23-4. So Willie Fritz is a coach. I mean, this guy, he'll get after it, and his team will eventually figure out how it gets done. You saw glimpses of it last year. They had a 4-game stretch: TCU, Utah, and Kansas State, and they beat all 3 of them. Willie Fritz teams are tough. They play great defense, and they figure out a way to run the football. Sometimes that's the QB, sometimes it's running backs, sometimes it's jet sweep, sometimes it's power. But he figures it out. He takes advantage of what he has, and he puts it to use. They won 4 games last year. Their win total is set at 6.5. So that's telling me something. I think defensively they'll be okay. There's only a handful of starters back, 3 or 4, I believe. Yeah. Same on offense. But he does get, and he won't have his QB from last year, but he does get Connor Wegman at QB, who's the kid that was at Texas A&M. He should be an okay fit for a Willie Fritz style offense. They don't play Kansas State. They don't play Iowa State, so they avoid some of the upper echelon teams in the conference. I think Houston I think they get to 7 wins. I think they surprise some people like they did last year. Because teams are, they may not surprise Kansas State and Utah and TCU since they took it on the chin last year from them. But, I'm sure people are still looking at Houston and thinking, here's another 3, 4, 5 win team. I think they sneak up, and their non-conference schedule, they should be 2-0 when they start the season, and then they got Colorado at home to kick off the Big 12. But I like Willie Fritz. I like Houston. And I like them to go over their win total.
I think I'm with you on this one. The problem is right now it's set at 5.5, and it's heavily juiced. I think we're getting up to minus 200. So that's giving you all the indication you need to know about this team. You're going to see this team in a bowl game, in my opinion. And it's just, you can go back to the history, and you said it. It's like Kurt Signetti and Willie Fritz. Those are the type of coaches that everywhere they go, you just give them like a year or 2, and they'll just be like where they need to be by year 2, year 3, year 4. That's kind of where it's gone. And Willie Fritz is that type of coach. Very much an improvement, upgrade at the quarterback position. They had Donovan Smith to work with last year, and Connor Wegman is just going to work perfect for what Willie Fritz want to do. He's probably going to set him up like a Michael Pratt. I wish Tajay Spears was still available in the transfer portal. I guess where is he? Tennessee now? I can't even remember where he's at now. But they got to find one of those running backs there. The stronger this season with their top 3 rushers back. They do add Rice's top offensive weapon from last year too. So there's definitely some depth in that backfield. Dean Connors should be a boost to that group. The wide receivers should look better too with Wegman at the helm. They added 4 transfers with experience. Offensive line should be a lot better. Veteran transfers, all juniors and seniors, by the way. So this is all disciplined guys that have been in systems and just know how to play college football. Their defense rebuilt. So he's kind of molding this team into being what he needs to be. From an overall roster standpoint, their defense is a lot better than their win record, and their offense was basically the problem. So what did Willie Fritz was cognizant of that, made the improvements. 57 toughest schedule too, not a tough schedule for them. I don't think they have to get into conference play until over a month. And then very soft non-conference schedule. So they're going to get those wins before they have to get to conference play. Road games, Baylor, Arizona State, Oregon State, and UCF. So those won't be easy spots. But as a win total at 5.5, you don't need those wins. So I just think they set the line correctly on this one. Willie Fritz has always improved his teams in year 2. I think this is a bowl-eligible team. And then maybe in year 3, I'm going to be very interested to see what he does with this team, because if you know anything, what he did at Tulane, that's when we started to see the turnover of that team, and they started to become dominant in the American within the American Conference, and I think they were AAC. So this is one of those teams to watch. This is a coach to watch. Don't fret on this team. Houston will be back into pure dominance in a different conference this time in the Big 12. All right, now we're getting into some business here. Matt Campbell, another coach I love. Iowa State. Cyclones. God, I love this team, and I love Matt Campbell's doing. He comes back from an awful year in 2023, comes into 2024, and he just absolutely comes and steamrolls, brings that team into a Big 12 championship and contention to, I think if they won that, they might have been the representative in the college football playoff. Yeah. Couldn't get it done. They got absolutely smoked. But I'll start with you. What do you think of this team this year, Coach?
Love me some Matt Campbell. Another guy, Division III guy out of Ohio. If you know anything about Mount Union, God, good football. But Matt Campbell is built like every Ohio guy I know, and that is we're going to play awesome defense, and we're going to run the football, and we're going to get a quarterback who doesn't make mistakes. And Rocco Becht is a 3-year starter, and he'll be one of the better QBs in this league. I think he has 2 seasons. He's got there's 3 seasons. He has almost 8,000 passing yards, 7,000 passing yards.
Yeah,
shitload of touchdowns. Yeah, so they've and he's got some meat around him. I think they have 6 returning starters, 3 of them on the offensive line. So again, when you're good up front, you're going to be good. And Iowa State returns 3 of those guys up front. I think they have some new receivers that'll come in. Mm-hmm. Defensively, again, I think it's 6 starters on defense. What they really need to do defensively, and this could be one of the keys to Iowa State's season, is they just have to get after the quarterback. Like I said, Matt Campbell teams are tough, and they play great defense. Last year, though, they didn't pressure the QB. They played 14 games. They had 17 sacks. Yeah. So especially when you're playing in the Big 12, you don't have to sack the quarterback, but you need to get after him. You need to make him move. You need to make him be uncomfortable. And typically when you do that, you do get more sacks. But they have to pressure the QB this year if they want to have a shot at playing for another Big 12 title, which they really could. They don't play Kansas State. They don't play Texas Tech. They're going to get Arizona State in a home game. So Iowa State, of course, they're going to play the big rivalry game, the Cyhawk rivalry with Iowa. Win total set at 7.5. I'm kind of confused as to why it's juiced to the under, but crazier things have happened. I think Iowa State can get right back to where it was last year and play for another Big 12 title. To me, that means that they get over 7.5 wins.
Yeah, juice to the under on that 7.5. It just we don't know where this conference is going. I just think there's a lot of strong teams. There's a lot of teams that didn't have a great year last year that are on the come up. And maybe this is just another team that has a target on their back and they're just getting downgraded. And I think I understand a little bit of the downgrade, even though they got Rocco Becht back. They get their top 2 running backs back. Their offensive line is mostly intact. But the wide receiver corps is going to be a downgrade for them. 2,000-yard receivers last year, gone. They do go to the transfer portal. AAC guys are coming into, but there's huge question marks in those positions. Their defense, really their strongest level is going to be their linebackers. Their defensive line has some concerns still, in my opinion, and their secondary's got some concerns. So there's 2 levels of that defense that I have some big question marks. I'm going to have to see them play. But I think if you have the key middle there with the linebackers, they're going to really have to step up this year to really keep that defense going and productive. But the sacks, you said that you mentioned the sacks. They gotta get to the quarterback. They gotta put pressure and make these good quarterbacks in the Big 12 make mistakes if they're going to have some success. Starting the year off with a Big 12 game in Dublin, week 0. That's going to be coming up on Saturday. They're preparing for that right now. Their road games aren't that bad. Arkansas State, Cincinnati, Colorado, TCU, and Oklahoma State. They don't have to face Baylor or Utah. 10-win season, though. First ever, I think, double-digit win season in the history of Iowa State. Yeah. Cyclone history, right? And can they repeat that? I think it's going to be very tough. Could they get 8 wins? Maybe. But they're going to be in this mix, and I think this conference is going to eat each other up. It's going to be very competitive across the board. We'll see with this team. I don't have an official play. I think when I see it juiced down to the under in the 7.5, they could get 8 wins. They could get 6 wins. That's kind of how I see this team. We'll have to see what happens there with Matt Campbell and the Cyclones. Next one on the board, Leopold. We got some great coaches, by the way. We mentioned quarterbacks a lot, but we got some great coaches. Lance Leopold. I love this guy. What I say? Yeah. So, I thought I said the name wrong. It's Leopold. I've heard everybody announce it wrong. I know I'm saying it right, but he's done some remarkable things. Had a little bit of a down year, especially with the amount of talent that this team had last year. But man, I'm thinking there's going to be a little bit of a bounce back from this Kansas Jayhawks team, even though they lost Devin Neal. Still bring back Jalen Daniels. There's some improvements there. Before I get to that, Coach, what do you think about the Jayhawks?
So I love me some Lance Leipold, baby. Yeah, we're talking about coaches, right? I mean, here's 3 in a row right here. Willie Fritz, Matt Campbell, Lance Leipold. If you don't know, man, go look back at his career. He was a Division III head coach at Wisconsin Whitewater. How about this record? 109 and 6. 6 losses. 6 Division III national championships. Played for a 7th and lost, and then he missed the playoffs 1 year in 8 years at Wisconsin Whitewater. Of course, that led to job after job. He did a great job at Buffalo, played for a couple of MAC championships. Now at Kansas, they went 9-4 one of his seasons already. Injuries really killed him. A couple of key injuries here and there, and they're a 5-win football team. But the thing is they finished last year and they won 4 of their last 5. 3 of their last 4 of their last 6 to end the season. And I think that kind of catapults them into this year. And now you have a healthy Jalen Daniels, which he's the key. And a healthy Jalen Daniels means this is a 7-8 win football team. Kansas offense, I'm telling you, if you like offensive football, watch Kansas play. You will see things that you don't see teams do ever. And they do it because they have done it for years, and they have figured out ways to win games in the Big 12 with inferior talent. Not to say that they're not good, but this year coming back, Daniels is the key. A couple other starters up front. I'll let you talk about some of the skill positions. Defensively, only 3 or 4 starters, but they're all in the D line. So again, like I said, if you're good up front, you have a potential to be good, whether it's offense or defense. I think they can be better defensively, which they're going to have to be. Gave up a ton of points last year. Leipold, if you look at his career numbers at Kansas, he's 22-28, which doesn't look all that great. But historically, go back and look. Winningest, losingest teams in college football, near the bottom, is actually Kansas and team we'll talk about next, Kansas State. Historically, they've been awful, but I'm telling you, Lance Leipold he's going to get it. He's going to turn it around. If he's got a healthy Jalen Daniels, they get it done. I think this is a bowl team. I'll let you talk about the schedule too as well.
I think this team, I'm very high on this team. I mean, I love this win total. Even though there's juice to it, I think it's at -160. It's still, I think it's a good bet. This Kansas, this team only won 5 games last year, but they started the year 1-5, and they finished 4-2, and they beat 3 ranked opponents in the process at the end of the year inside the conference. I mean, what was it? 5 out of their 7 wins were by a possession or less. So, I mean, you mentioned the injuries and stuff. I just think that's remarkable coaching, getting their team competitive minus some key starters in some of these factors, right? They do get Jalen Daniels, a healthy Jalen Daniels back. Their wide receivers, I mean, they do lose Devin Neal, but I think the running backs, they get a running back that was a 1,000-yard rusher from Iowa that in 2023, he's going to be playing for them this year. So we'll see if he's got a little bit of rust there, but I think that's going to be a good fill-in for Devin Neal. I think the wide receiver corps is completely rebuilt. They get some solid guys from Bama, Ball State, and a kid from Columbia that was a great starter for them. They do lose a little bit on the offensive line, but I think that as they gel as a unit, they will get better. You mentioned the defense. Top 6 tacklers are going to be back for this team, and they use the portal to kind of fill in some voids. I have a little bit of questions on the secondary, but if I remember correctly, I don't remember Kansas having a good secondary anyways, and they were still getting W's. Their schedule is not that as pretty weak. They start in week 0 and go play Fresno State. Fresno State's got their issues here and there, so I think they should get a W there. And then the road games are Missouri, UCF, Texas Tech, Iowa State, and they don't have to face Baylor, SMU, or Arizona State. So I think that is absolutely favorable. But like I said, 1-5 to 4-2, 5 out of their 7 losses by a possession or less. That usually gives you a high indicator of improvement from this team. So I love the over here. And mind you, their home games were not necessarily played at home. They played in a soccer stadium and they played at Arrowhead because their stadium was getting remodeled and rebuilt. And now they get this brand new stadium. And I think that is going to be high, like emotional advantage for them going and actually playing a true home game in Kansas, in their university. That's going to be huge for them. I love the over on wins on this one. It might be my favorite one on the board with the Jayhawks. But we keep it moving along, and their in-state rival, not far up the road, Kansas State. And yes, as I drove here from Las Vegas all the way to Maryland, I did take a stop by both of these stadiums. I stopped by Kansas, and then right after that, I stopped by Kansas State. I can't remember which one hit first, but I made both stops. And Chris Kleiman coming in here, high hopes for this team. Some changeover in a lot of cases, but they get Avery Johnson back at quarterback, huge star, and they get their top wide receiver back in Jace Brown. So some key elements on this one, but I'll start with you, Coach. What do you think of the Wildcats?
So here's what do we got? 1, 2. This will be coach number 4, right? Chris Kleiman.
Yeah, Chris Kleiman.
I mean, if you know anything about coaches, so Chris Kleiman comes from this North Dakota State coaching tree. I mean, North Dakota State. I'll digress for just a minute. I was a young college football coach at my alma mater. We played North Dakota State in game 1 of a season. Went to Fargo, lost by 10. They were awesome, really good. This is back, they're still Division II, right? And we won our next 13 games in a row, and we played North Dakota State for a Division II national championship and got our ass kicked. And Chris Kleiman probably wasn't even born yet. I don't know. But the point is, North Dakota State, like, this program is proud. It wins. It won Division II. It moved up to FCS. Chris Kleiman won a bunch of FCS national titles. He moves on to Kansas State. And this program is built like North Dakota State. So when you see them winning 8-9 games, and don't be surprised if they win a few more this year, there's a good reason, because he knows what he's doing, and he's built a team that's built around great defense and a solid power running game. And he's got a great QB, Avery Johnson. I mean, he's not going to win the Heisman, but he's mentioned. He's on the board. He has odds. But he's very good. He's a great dual threat guy. He can throw. He threw for 2,700 or so, 25 touchdowns. He ran for another 600 plus, scored a bunch of touchdowns on the ground. So it's a dynamic offense that, defenses have to account for the quarterback. And that's kind of, the modern defense is a lot different than, 10, 12 years ago, where you didn't have to account for a running quarterback. So Avery Johnson makes this offense go. 5 other starters around him. Jace Brown is probably an all Big 12 receiver. He's that good. Defensively, I'll let you talk about them. There are a couple starters back there. Defensively, this is, total defense, they were in the top 50 in the country. They gave up 23.4 points per game last year. And you hear that and you're like, but remember, it's the Big 12. Like, this is air raid city. Like, everybody airs the ball out, and modern defense, again, it's different. So when you're holding a team, 25 or less, like in the Big 12, you have a chance to win. And I think, a Chris Kleiman team, again, will be able to contain Big 12 opponents. and probably stay within that 23 to 25 point range, which gives them a chance to win every week. I'll let you talk about the schedule, but this is a team that, 9-4 last year, missed out on the Big 12 title game. And you can bet that they want to get there because they're one of the teams that have won one of the titles in the last 5 years. 8.5 is the win total, minus 110 on both sides. That's telling you something there. This is definitely a bowl team. I actually think that they contend for the Big 12 championship. I'd look for the bet on, qualify for the Big 10 title game. Check out, see what the odds are on that, as well as Big 10 champion.
I'm kind of shocked.
Big 12, sorry, Big 12.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked on that win total at 8.5. I was like, they don't get the easiest schedule in the world, even to start the year. I mean, you got to go to Dublin, and then you got to go play Army after that. I mean, the Army, there's preparation that goes when you have to face that triple option. So for them to have to go from Dublin, and then in week 1, you're going to play Army. Whew, that's gonna be a tough test for them, but. Yeah, a lot of the key weapons are back on this one. Of course, they do lose their running back, DJ Giddens. He's going to be gone. But this kid, Dylan Edwards, is not someone we can sleep on. I think that's the next man up. He played very well in the bowl game. I think he had 190 yards and 10.9 yards per carry in the bowl game because Giddens opted out because he was going to the NFL. The defense, you mentioned a lot of that. But the key on this one, I think their linebacker and secondaries have a little bit of question marks. I think the strength is going to be their defensive line. Most of their starters that they do get back are coming from the defensive line, so that is kind of a positive anyways. At least if they can put pressure on the quarterback, I think everything in the secondary should be able to fit very well for them. But I mentioned the schedule in this one. They got to go road trips to Arizona, Baylor, Kansas, Oklahoma State, and Utah. They do fit, like I said, they have to face Army week 1 after going to Dublin to go face Kansas State. Iowa State. 8 regular season wins, and they're giving them an uptick on this one, which is kind of crazy. Maybe the books know something that we don't know. I do like the talent core that they have on this team. I do like Chris Kleeman. I think this team has the ability to compete in virtually every single game that they're in, and if not win. So I'm just not going to be placing a bet on this over wins just because I think this conference is going to be extremely competitive, and one possession or one could change the outcome of a game in a lot of these situations and the outcome of a win. And it's funny because I think they are tied as the favorite to win the Big 12 as well. So there's a lot of key factors. I know the books and the win total gives a lot of indicators that I think are probably leading to this team will contend for a Big 12 championship regardless of their schedule. We'll see what happens with Chris Kleeman and the Wildcats. Now we're going into some regression mode here. We got excited. I know Gundy has been kind of a man. I know he's a man. He's not 40 anymore. He's not worried about what's in the paper about his players. He's probably worried about what the papers are saying about him now. Just a tough year. Even though they had Ollie Gordon, didn't even matter. The quarterback was a detriment to them last year with Alan Bowman, who was, I think he's my age, and he has 3 kids and 1 grandkid. But this is a new year, and this is from a roster standpoint, it's looking kind of bleak. I'll start with you, Coach. What do you think of this Cowboys team?
I'm going to mention a name, and don't forget it. I think if he stays at Oklahoma State, at some point he'll be the best player in the Big 12. Hoss Haney. If you don't know who he is, go watch some of his highlights when he was a Texas high school quarterback. This is a kid who he's a legit 10-600. Great arm. He can run. He can do it all. And he'll start at quarterback for Oklahoma State. Now, this year, do I expect them to tear it up? Not exactly, because again, like I've said, I don't think you can be as good without the big hogs up front. They don't have a lot of experience in the offensive line. Won't have any starters returning actually at all. And it'll be a kind of a transition year for Gundy. You mentioned him. He kind of took a shit last year, but if you look at his collective body of work, and I know he gets flack all the time. I don't know if it's the mullet. Did he cut that thing yet? I don't know.
I think
But,
he did.
He
Did
might
cut
have.
it? That's when he started losing.
Yeah, it was Samson, I guess. I don't know. But he's only had 2 losing seasons. I mean, he's been there for like, I think he owes Jesus his sandals or something. But his losing season his first year, and then last year they started 3-0. They just went 0-9 the rest of the way. That's my cousin, 0-9. But I mean, is this a team that's going to just shit the bed and win 3 games? I don't know. I mean, Mike Gundy's still a good football coach. Say what you want, but he ain't going to let this. He's not going to let this ride. The problem is he just won't have the hogs yet to get it done.
Right.
Both sides of the ball up front, they're going to be outmanned probably every time they take the field. Other than Tennessee Martin in their first game, maybe Tulsa in week 3, but win total wise, they're set at 5.5. I mean, it's juiced to the under. I'll pass on everything until Haas Haney is either a sophomore or a junior. And, then by that time, hopefully Gundy still has a job, and we'll wait and see what that kid can do. I think he's going to be special.
I'm seeing the line drop to 4.5 now.
That's
a huge indicator that I think people are not high on this Oklahoma State, and there's validity to it. I mean, the quarterbacks are going to be young kids. It's still a 1-2 battle. I think Zane Flores may have the lead on this one, but you mentioned your kid.
I think they named Haney the starter.
Did they?
Yeah,
I just looked it up real quick.
I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong. But whether it's Flores or not, I think Haney's going to see time. He'll play anyway.
Yeah, it'll be between Zane Flores and Haas Hengy. We'll see what happens with that one. It just looks a little bit bleak. They're going to have a very young backfield. Ollie Gordon's going to be gone, their top rusher. They lose their top 3 receivers as well. So either way, they're going to be likely going with a young quarterback on this one. And then the offensive line loses 8 players with numerous career starts. So that's rebuilt with transfers and stuff. Who haven't worked together. So there's a lot of growing pains are going to be with this team. Maybe one of the worst assembled rosters that I've ever seen a Mike Gundy team have. I've usually been very positive on the Cowboys year after year. Their schedule, non-conference, they got to play Oregon, conference road games. They got to play Texas Tech, Kansas, UCF, and Arizona. They also have to face Baylor, Kansas State, and Iowa State. This is a team that won 3 straight games last year, and then they proceeded to go 0-9 in the conference, which is unprecedented in a Mike Gundy football team. And just too many questions up and down the board, and you're seeing a 4.5. And you said 5.5s were available at one point, and it may be steaming down. Who knows? Just a team I just don't want anything to do with. I think right now, to me, it looks like a team that if you're going against Oklahoma State, it's going to feel like a quasi bye week for them. But we'll see what happens. Mike Gundy's a good coach. You may be able to coach them up and surprise them like Arizona State did. You never know. I may be a little bit too high on that one. But you never know. In college football, anything can happen. All right, let's go to Sonny Dykes' world in TCU with the Horned Frogs. 6 returning starters back, including their quarterback, Josh Hoover. They lose a lot of their weapons, 5 out of their top 6 receivers and top 2 running backs. Going to be a little bit of a change order. Their offensive line looks more intact. Defensively, we shall see. But I'll start with you, Coach. What do you think about this TCU Horned Frogs team?
You mentioned Hoover. Hoover's actually the Big 12 passing leader. And again, another great Big 12 QB. Like we said earlier, top to bottom, just every quarterback here is, they're experienced. They've shown that they can play. Many of them have several wins under their belt, so it should be a tough league. And I think we might have mentioned before how, this league probably is going to beat each other up. Last year you had, 2-loss team, two 2-loss teams playing for the title. You might see a 3-loss team playing for the Big 12 title here. It's tough. It's hard to go out and play, I hate to use the word backyard football, but these teams air the ball up just all game long, other than, maybe BYU, and maybe now West Virginia with Rich Rod. Like almost every team here is an air raid based offense, and TCU is one. And Hoover, I mean, he exploited Big 12 defenses last year. Almost 4,000 passing yards, 27 touchdowns. I think they lose their top all three top receivers. They get, I think the kid's name's McAllister. Eric McAllister is back. He had about 600 or 700 yards receiving. They did bring in a couple transfers, but it's not going to light anybody on fire because one kid's from Idaho and I think the other's from Houston, maybe. But I'm sure they're worthy. Otherwise, Sonny Dykes would not have brought them in, and of course paid them some NIL money. Defensively, I think is where the difference is with TCU. Like they're actually pretty good defensively after they kind of dropped off a little. Andy Avalos is the defensive coordinator. He used to be the head coach at Boise State. And again, TCU is a team 24.6 points per game. And you look at that again, and you're like, oh, gee, they gave up, a little over 3 touchdowns. Well, when you do that in the Big 12, you got a shot to win. Mm-hmm. So TCU brings back 6 starters from that defense. They won their last 4 games last year. 6 of their last 7 end up 9-4. I don't know if anybody figured that would happen last year. And then now you're rolling into this year with I see their win total at 6.5. And that might be up to 7.5 now. I don't know. It should be. If it isn't, I'll let you talk about their schedule. But this is a team that I think it is on the uptick again and could possibly hit that 9-win mark again.
Yeah, it's 6.5 with juice.
Yeah.
I have it as a 6 to 7 win team this year. And you mentioned most of the key points. I think I like the addition at the running back position. They got to the portal, Cavalier and Barnes from UTSA coming over from the AAC. Solid running back for them. They also get Idaho's from the FCS. They get their top wide receiver, Jordan Dwyer, should be a nice addition to them. Defense remains a little bit intact. 5 out of their top 7 tacklers from last year. Schedule is a little bit wide. There's a little bit of a downgrade. They had 8 regular season wins and I think a bowl win, 9-4 last year. So, but their schedule is 11th toughest in the league. Their road games, they're going to go at UNC, Arizona State, Kansas State, BYU, West Virginia, and Houston. So a lot of road games. Home schedule is going to be tougher for them as well. I mean, SMU, Baylor, Iowa State are not going to be cupcakes for them at home. So there are some hiccups in their schedule, but I think it's still a very tough team. 4 of their wins were within a possession or less and only 2 close losses. So it would indicate a downgrade as far as their win total is concerned, but it's at kind of a 6 to 7 win team right now. And I think there's validity to it. I think this team can win 7 games. Are they going to win 8 or 9? I don't know about that one. Their schedule is just a little bit tougher, a lot more road games on that one. So as far as the lean goes, I probably lean slightly to the over, but I think it's super sharp, and I'm not going to actually really put a play on this one. I'm just going to pass on it completely. Speaking of teams that I like, let's talk about Joey McGuire's boys and the Raiders. The Red Raiders of Texas Tech may have the best team that Joey McGuire has had in his tenure there. A lot of experience coming back from this team, 5th most in the country. That's how much experience he's got back with this team, including his quarterback, even though he does lose some key weapons on the offensive side as far as wide receiver and running back is concerned. But I'll start with you, Coach. What do you think about the Red Raiders?
I think when you have a university in Lubbock, Texas, you have a lot of wealthy alumni who may be involved in the oil industry, or maybe it's cattle, I don't know. And you have basically an unlimited NIL checkbook. And we're going to find out this year if you can buy a Big 12 conference championship. So you mentioned the experience. I mean, they do. They have tons of experience. They got a lot of dudes coming back. Joey McGuire, I like the guy, good coach. Again, another air raid team. But here, this is defense. UCF, Northern Illinois, Georgia Tech, Stanford, Mississippi State, Charlotte, UTEP, North Dakota State. Those are just some of the transfers brought in on defense. That's it, right? And then there's a ton more on offense. Mm-hmm. They opened up the checkbook because they plan on winning a Big 12 championship, and they very well could. Tons of starters back, both offense and defense. Not as many defensively, which is why all the action on the portal. But they basically bought an offensive line and bought a defensive line, and I think it's going to pay off. They avoid Iowa State on the schedule. The problem is going to be for them, their win total set at 8.5, and it's juiced to the over. Like I saw it like minus 150.
It's minus 134 right now.
Okay, all right. So, but yeah, they have to go. They're playing at Arizona State. They're playing at Kansas State. They're going to be 3-0 to start the season. Arkansas Pine Bluff's an FCS team. Kent State should be an FCS team. Sorry, Kent. I love me some MAC football, but and then they're going to play Oregon State week 3. So they're going to start off 3-0. They're going to roll into the Big 12 schedule, and Baron Morton. I mean, here's another one, right? We talk about all these QBs. Baron Morton, Jesus. I mean, it's you go back to Mike Leach days with all the QBs at Texas Tech. Like, here's another one. Like, he's going to throw for a boatload of yards. Joey McGuire's going to sling the ball around, and they're going to score a ton of points. The key, I think, for them is going to be defensively, and if they put it together, I mean, this is a team that could play for and win the Big 12 title.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the win total has validity to it. And yeah, you said it. It's like, they have that Netflix doc I just started watching, the Dallas Cowboys, and how that team got built up. Basically oil itself.
Oil money.
And you have a lot of oil money with the Texas Tech here. Baron Morton, you mentioned him. He's just an absolute weapon. This feels like this team when Mike Leach was there and just that air raid offense scored a ton of points. This is going to have that feel. And even though they lost their all-time leading rusher at Texas Tech and Taj Brooks, and they lost Josh Kelly, I think the running back got some depth. They got Jacoby Williams, Cameron Dickey. They got a USC transfer in Quentin Joyner. So he's a very solid, deep group of running backs. And the wide receivers, I think, are very good. They got a first-team all-Sun Belt tight end. They got a second-team all-MAC wide receiver from Miami, Ohio. I think they competed for the MAC Conference Championship, by the way. And then you have the O-line with 3 starters back last year, and they added 3 transfers. So a lot, and they're all not – I'm not talking about freshmen and sophomores here. This is junior, senior line, big guys that have been in college football and are built to play college football. Yeah. The defensive side, absolutely loaded with NFL prospects across the board. I mean, this team is just absolutely loaded for bear on this one. And their schedule is not tough. 72nd toughest schedule, soft conference schedule. Some tough road tests at Utah, Arizona State, and Kansas State, but they don't have to face Baylor, Iowa State, TCU, or Colorado, all conference teams that beat Texas Tech last year, by the way. Those were their losses. The teams that beat them last year, they don't have to play them, which is crazy. They will compete for a Big 12 championship, like Coach said. Completely agree. That's why the total is so high at 8.5. I think this team has got some flyers on the win the Big 12 championship might be in order. I don't know what value you can get on that one. It may not be worth it, but I mean, I think this team will contend. I think Kansas State will contend, and Baylor. Those are the 3 that I like the most in the conference to win the Big 12 championship this year. Even though Arizona State is the reigning champion, like you said, Coach, we haven't seen a back-to-back winner since 2020, right? I think with Oklahoma. Yep. So that's the last time, and they're not in the conference anymore. They're in the SEC. Right. All right, let's go to the next one here with the UCF Knights. And sometimes you got to move back to move forward. That is the slogan. I think that was in the car commercial with Matthew McConaughey. But that is what the case is here with Scott Frost. Of course, Scott Frost made his bones at UCF, or made his name. He made his name as a quarterback at Nebraska, but as a coach, he made it there, went to Nebraska, didn't work out, and now he is back where it all started. And can he get this team back from the bowels of championship lore and into contention in the Big 12? I'll start with you, Coach. What do you think?
I mean, he can. I think it's going to take him a while. of course, I mean, he's going to have every advantage. And the biggest is, of course, is just being in Florida. The talent pool is just tremendous. You're able to recruit Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, all these schools that, I've coached in basically the North, Northeast, Midwest in my entire life. And, high schools up here, we don't have spring football. We don't have 7-on-7 year round. In the state of Michigan, I mean, God, it's awful for kids in the off season here. You go to Florida, like kids are playing football all year round. Kids in Florida play a couple spring games, So he's going to get there. He's going to have the talent. He's going to have the talent pool to draw from. He had success before. So I think that's going to, lure a lot of kids that otherwise maybe would have gone somewhere else to maybe think about going to Central Florida. But for now, this year one, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult. And it starts at quarterback. And he's got a decision to make. He's got to pick between, three guys. And I don't know if he's made a decision yet or not. But Taven Jackson, these are all like transfer guys that, played somewhere else. Ja'Cory Brown, I think I saw him play in high school. He went to Miami, now he's at UCF. Cam Fancher started at FAU, started at Marshall. He comes in. These guys have experience. Taven Jackson might have started a game or two at Indiana, but one of those guys is going to be the quarterback. Maybe he pans out, maybe he doesn't. At least he has some experience there. But the rest of the offense, like he's got to retool pretty much the whole thing. I think there's one offensive line starter that is back. 3 defensively. I mean, you got to retool the whole defense. I don't see how he has much success other than the non-conference schedule. They play a couple. Well, Jacksonville State isn't a gimme, but North Carolina A&T should be. But then you got to, you're in the conference. I think they avoid some of the bigger, upper tier teams. But I think their win total set at 5.5. I'm still trying to figure out how they would get there. Just with the lack of experience. Nothing against Scott Frost. I think he's a good coach, and I think he will get this done. I will mention one player just because, I kind of know who he is. He went to Western Michigan. But Jaden Dixon is a really good running back. Ran for over 1,000 yards up here at Western last year. And I don't know if he's going to start, but he'll be in the mix at running back there. So they could be decent on offense. But again, this is the Big 12 where you have to be able to defend air raid after air raid after air raid, and they just don't have the big horses to do it yet.
Right.
So getting to their win total is going to be very, very difficult. I think in year one, give Scott Frost a year or two, and he'll get this thing turned in the right direction.
Yeah, he's kind of stepped into a role where he's starting from scratch. Gus Malzahn gone, and now it's Scott Frost, and he's basically started with like no weapons, no running back. RJ Harvey gone, KJ Jefferson gone. The quarterback position, like you said, Coach, in who knows who's going to be started. I do really like Taven Jackson. I thought when he played at Indiana and he stepped in, filling in when the injury, he was the backup there. I thought he played very well. He's a dual threat type of weapon. And Cam Foucher's worked very well for Marshall too. So they do have a good quarterback there. And you mentioned Jaden Dixon from Western Michigan. I think that he's solid running back for them. Very young in the backfield outside of him. So I think Nixon's probably going to be the starter in the backfield for them. Wide receiver core, just none of them have starting experience. So it's going to be a downgrade. It's going to be a real transition for that team. New defense, only 2 returning starters, new defensive coordinator. Their schedule does start a little bit soft. NC A&T, Jackson State, and then they got road games against Kansas State, Cincinnati, Baylor, Texas Tech, and BYU. 4 wins last year, but 2 of those wins were against UNH, which is FCS, and right up the road where I grew up, and then Sam Houston State. Yeah, well, I grew up in Maine, but I was a stone's throw from University of New Hampshire. They ended the season 1-8. This is a team that is just starting from scratch and trying to rebuild. But Scott Frost has been here before. As long as he kind of gets some of these guys from, like you said, recruiting, Florida, Georgia, you're in the hotbed.
Yep.
You got to get guys to buy into your system, and he's done it before. I think you can do it again. And the Bounce House is one of the toughest places to play in the country. 42-9 straight up in their last 8 years there. 3-4 straight up last year, though. So there's got to be improvement there. I don't think this is going to be the strongest place to play for home games yet, but it will. I just think it's going to be a rebuilding year. I'm leaning towards the under on their win total. Somebody's got to lose in this conference, and it might as well be the UCF Knights. Let's go into the next team on the board. We got the Utah Utes. In Mormon country, quasi. Another team that has good contention and could win the championship here. There's some turnover there, including a new OC coming over from New Mexico. If you know anything about New Mexico last year, they ran high octane offense, very fast, and no huddle, and just came at you and tried to score as many points as you because their defense was so bad. Maybe a different story here, but the offense is going to be electric. Very excited to watch this Utah team. But I'll start with you, Coach. What do you think of the Utah Utes?
I think Utah Utes will be probably the most underrated team that's going to compete for a title. Mm-hmm. This is a great football team. Again, another coach that I love. He's been around forever, it seems like. And then even when he said, wasn't it last year, the year before, hey, I'm going to retire, and here's my coach in waiting and all that. And I think I don't know, what is he, 64, 65 years old, which is nothing, but still, Kyle Whittingham, like, the dude gets it done. And again, another guy who his team is built around tough defense and a solid running game. And they've been doing it for years, and they continue to win. Yeah, they dropped off a little bit last year. And really the last couple of years, they've had the QB, his name's escaping me, Cam something, that guy with the long hair,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Rising, yep. Cameron Rising.
Cam Rising, yeah.
Yeah. So, and he was a great QB, solid. He was a winner. I love the way he played. But he got hurt. And he was coming back, then he get hurt and coming back, and blah blah blah. And it kind of took a negative toll on Utah over the last maybe 2 seasons. So 5-7 last year, but don't fall asleep here, because they did the right thing in pulling off one of these kind of OC QB deals where they got Jason Beck as the OC, and along with that deal they get Devin Dampier, who you talk about quarterbacks in the Big 12, like, he could end up being the best one of them all. Over 2,600 passing yards, ran for 1,168. So 1,000-yard rusher at the quarterback position. He ran for 19 touchdowns, threw for 12 more. Like, their offense, as you mentioned, they're going to giddy up and they're going to go. And the difference between Utah and New Mexico last year is Utah can actually play defense. So they're going to be one of the top 3-4 defenses in the league. 5 starters back on defense. I'll let you talk about them. But this is a team that, like, don't sleep, because they're gonna do some damage. The win total 7.5. I think they get to that, especially with the weak non-conference. They're going to play at UCLA to start, which I think they've played them the last couple of years. Cal Poly at Wyoming. I think they roll into Big 12 at 3-0. 7.5 is the win total. I like them going over. This is a bowl team. This is a team that I know I've said it probably 3 or 4 times already, but they're going to contend for a Big 12 title. Again, it's going to be somebody that's 2 losses, maybe 3 losses, playing for a Big 12 championship.
Yeah, I'm with you with this team. I'm very excited with this one. I was very high on New Mexico last year just because of their offense, and now bringing that element in there. We've seen it work a lot in the G5 world, and seeing it kind of come to fruition, and that, at least that recipe coming into some of these bigger schools and the bigger conferences, it's going to be very fun to see. But yeah, getting that New Mexico offense, get the quarterback Devin Dampier, was just a dual threat weapon, could run the ball. The running backs are going to be a lot of new blood, but I mean, these are guys that can actually run these high octane offenses. We're talking about Wayshawn Parker. He comes over from Washington State. That was another high octane offense. And Nakuri Rogers comes over from New Mexico as well in the package. So they're going to be very good. Wide receiver core, New Mexico top wide receiver comes back to the team. So this is going to look like New Mexico's offense, just in a Utah Ute uniform all the way through. They get a transfer from Notre Dame. They get Southern Miss to help the wide receiver core as well. So they're going to be fine there. Offensive line is going to be intact. The defense should be fine. Solid unit. Gave up 20.7 points per game last season. 3 out of their 4 top tacklers are back. And their schedule is kind of favorable. 4 true road games in conference this year against West Virginia, BYU, Baylor, and Kansas. They had 4 losses by a possession or less last year. Only 5 wins, but 4 in a row to start the year. And then just kind of like injuries and stuff kind of really played in. Everybody, Cam Rising is the in or is the out. They were always in this quarterback conundrum every single year, and the defense had to step up and make stops. It just wasn't enough. The total is set at 7.5 from a 5-win team. Should give you an indicator they're looking upward because the offense got better. Utah is 11-1 straight up last 3 seasons in the first month of the year. So keep that in mind. I think that they'll come out swinging very fast. You're gonna be very excited about this team, and there's a reason that I'm looking at. I just wanted to look at see what the futures were on the conference championships, and there's 5 teams that are within like plus 100 from each other. You have 550, 550, 550, 650, 650. I mean, this is going to be a competitive conference, folks.
Yeah.
And this is one of the teams that are tied for the favorite with Arizona State and Kansas State. So look for high things from this Utah Utes team. All right, last team on the board. We talk about moving back to move forward. It's Rick Rod country, baby. And we're going to be burning some couches and singing Take Me Home Country Road.
Take me home.
Virginia. Route Mama.
Yep.
New head coach Rick Rod, he comes back. He was the man from 2001, 2007. Some great teams. I'm wearing the Pat White jersey for a reason. I love this team back in 07, 06, 07. Absolutely electric times. We'll see if we can get back there with Rick Rod. But I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this team?
I'm a Rich Rod fan. I remember way back in the day, I think he recruited a couple of my players when I was in PA, and just awesome. I don't know if people realize, but the zone read play that everybody runs now in some form or another, it dates back to Rich Rod when he was a Division II coach at Glenville State. Happened in a offensive drill, and his quarterback kind of dropped the ball on a shotgun snap, and defensive end kind of ran after the running back, and Rich Rod was like, what the heck happened there? And so he looked at it a little bit more, and, after that it was, zone read. And your Pat White shirt was the, one of the first big, kind of results of that mistake that Rich Rod found in practice one day. So he's a great coach. He's bounced around and he's got a lot of flack here and there, but this year he's going to have a tough road this year because it's not his roster. I did bring in some dudes from the portal. The key is it's for everybody. It's the QB here. I think they got 3 guys that are going to kind of compete for that job. I don't know if anybody has been named the starter yet, but Jalen Henderson's a transfer. You got Nico Markle, which I think he was the guy coming out of the spring. I forget the third guy's name, but somebody's got to be the guy, right? And for a Rich Rod offense, if the quarterback isn't Pat White, if he's not a Pat White type guy, that's okay, because Rich Rod's another guy who he's big on the run game. So go back and watch Jacksonville State film from last year. Like, he had 2-3 running, but now he had a quarterback that could run, but he had 2-3 running backs, 4, 5, 6, 700 yards rushing. Like, they're going to run zone, and then they're going to line up and run zone again and zone, and he's going to figure out a way to, utilize that play action pass, boot, whatever. But they're going to run the football. Jacksonville State was what, 3rd, 4th, 5th, something like that in rushing offense last year. West Virginia is not going to be that this year just because they've got to replace, I think, the whole offensive line. So again, another inexperienced team with an inexperienced QB. I don't think they're quite yet ready to compete in the Big 12. But I think Rich Rod Part 2 eventually is going to get there to compete for Big 12 championships. And I'll let you talk about it. It's the same thing on defense where he's basically replacing the whole boatload. I think he might have one or two starters on defense. But, they're going to get a win over Robert Morris, which, most people probably don't know who Robert Morris was or where Robert Morris University is. Moon Township, Pennsylvania, by the way. They're going to do the backyard brawl again, which was the West Virginia Pitt rivalry. That's going to be a tough one because it's at West Virginia this year, which, they're separated by 70 miles. I mean, that's going to be a tough non-conference game. Then they have to go through the conference schedule. And I just think it's going to be an ugly first year. They'll compete because Rich Rod teams do. Win total, it's 5.5. I don't know how they're playing in a bowl game. I don't picture that this year. Maybe a year or two, but not this year.
Yeah, I think if you look at the history, every time Rick Rod kind of goes into year one, it's always a kind of a tough sledding first year for him. But yeah, a lot of the guys that are coming over are, especially on the defensive side of the ball, are going to be more Jackson State transfers. Even the wide receiver core looks like it's going to be a lot of Jackson State guys. The quarterback is a lot of question marks. I think it might be Garrett Green's backup might be the starter on that one. We'll have to see. They did bring in some transfers from Charlotte and Texas A&M.
Max Brown.
Yeah. So I think it might be him.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the guy that has the best mobility and then can run because Rick Rod wants to run. He wants to use the quarterback in that kind of that dual threat RPO style that he ran with Jackson State. And it's like you go run, then you're back on the line. You're just kind of moving, and that's how they kind of get the offense going. If you watch Jackson State last year, they have a favorable schedule non-conference wise, and they don't have to face Baylor and Kansas State, so that's a positive for them. Utah and Texas Tech at home, but BYU, Kansas, and Arizona State on the road. Those are going to be some tough spots for them. This was a 6-win team last year, and you're seeing them kind of downgraded to like what? I think it was like 5.5 that I saw. Yeah. And if you look, and I want to go back to when his first year was at Rick Rod, so I'm going back to that just for history purposes. 2001, he was 3-8 in his first year at West Virginia. Second year, he was 9-4. So he's very quick to get the team up to the level of what he wants to see. He didn't really do well at Michigan. I think that was probably the only detriment to him. But you see what he's done at Jackson State. You've seen what he's done. I think he did well at Arizona too.
He did.
So he's got and he's in a school that he knows well, a community that he knows well, and everybody's going to back this guy. It's just not going to happen in year one. I think this is a team that's going to be downgraded. I like the under. If you can get it juiced a little bit, under 5.5 wins is probably the way I'd go with this one. Just going to be a tough year for him. But this is a team that we're going to be watching. And if there's if they can keep games close, I'm going to be monitoring that. And this is going to be a team I may like. Mind you, 50 transfers come in to this team this year. He has to start from basically scratch, and he's got a bunch of guys that probably haven't played with each other except for the guys from Jackson State. We ran through the board, and now let's give it to him one time. Let's give him some best bets for the win totals. Shall we, Coach? Win totals. What do you like?
Win total. I mean, it might be yours too, but love me some Kansas.
Yes, sir.
I am a Lance Leipold fan from back in the day when he was a Division III head coach, and he went to Buffalo and turned that thing around. And the guy's just a great coach. What he did last year with all the injuries and all the adversity that his team faced, they still went 5-7. They won, what we would say 4 out of the last 6. They had that span there where they beat 3 ranked teams. This is a good football team with a great coach, and he finally gets a healthy Jalen Daniels at quarterback. Kansas over 6.5 all day.
I'm with you. That's my favorite one of the conference. It fits perfectly. They competed so hard. Even when they were on that losing streak, they were never out of a game. They were always competing, even with the injuries and all the problems and the roster changes. This is a great team, a well-coached team with Leopold. He's done it everywhere else. I think he just has that good bounce back, and the line indicates that. And I'll give you an under on top of that. I'm wearing the jersey. I'm going to say under on Rick Rod's team in West Virginia. I'm not saying that he's not going to find success there. I think it's the perfect spot for him, and it's a perfect coach for the Mountaineers. I just think in year one it's going to be very tough on that one. So I think I like the under in that one. So I think we collectively agree.
I'll second that.
Rock, chalk, Jayhawk.
Giddy up.
Giddy up. Coach and Guns, you can find us out on Telegram, Why Lose Guns and Why Lose Coach. Is that right? Why Lose Coach?
Why Lose Coach Rick, yeah.
Why Lose Coach Rick. Instagram, and you can go check out our Telegrams. We have special deals for college football packages, and just check us out. Yeah. I've already got the week 0 write-ups, and my plays are already on my site. All my win totals are already out there as well. I just gave you one of them. Kansas definitely on my card. So go check us out, and we're just going to be pumping through this college football season. I can't wait for Saturday. That's going to be the appetizer, and then we get the main course in week 1 with so many beautiful games. And just if you're liking these videos, if you're watching these videos now or later, please like and subscribe to the J Cavalier channel, like the videos, and follow us along for this college football ride. That's going to do it. Coach Rick over there, Guns Picks over here. Let's cash some tickets. Let's dominate the board. And as always, giddy up, and let's keep dancing.
Amen.
Bye-bye.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort.